Next we have identifying similar figures, example 1. And it says identify the corresponding angles and sides in the pair of triangles. Then determine whether the triangles are similar. So identify the corresponding angles and determine if they are congruent or they have equal measures. In this case, angle R, whose measure is 118 degrees, corresponds to angle in our picture. These two are the matching ones, 118 here, R and X, corresponds to angle X, whose measure is also 118 degrees. Are they congruent? Yes. Angle S up here has an angle measure of 26 degrees. Angle S corresponds to Y, who also has 26 degrees. Are they congruent? Yes. And angle T, who has a degree measure of 36 degrees, corresponds to angle Z in this other triangle, and their measures are both 36, so are they congruent? Yes. It says if all corresponding angles are congruent, which they were, we circled yes, then identify the corresponding sides. Label with a line over the top. If the angles are not congruent, then stop. You don't need to keep going. Remember that both of these things have to be true. They have to have congruent angles. They also have to have proportional side lengths. And so we're going to start here with, I'm going to start with side RS. So RS gets a line above it that shows that this is side RS or line segment RS. Corresponds to, remember that order matters, so because R corresponds to X and S corresponds to Y, we would say XY in that order. Corresponds to segment XY or side XY. And so then their ratio with letters would be RS over XY. And their ratio with numbers, RS is 4, XY is 2, and so we would say 4 over 2, which does simplify to 2. After RS, I'm going to say ST. Side ST corresponds with X, or YZ, I'm sorry, corresponds with YZ. These two sides are matching side lengths here. S corresponds to Y, T corresponds to Z, so ST and YZ are corresponding side lengths. The ratio with letters is ST over YZ. The ratio with numbers is 6 over 3. And again, 6 over 3 reduces or simplifies to 2, so I'm just going to kind of put that out to the side there for myself. And then the last side that we have is TR. Corresponds to ZX. We could write these in the other opposite order. We could say RT corresponds to XZ. It just makes sure that whatever order we go in RT, that we also would say XZ, because order really does matter here. So with letters, we would say TR over ZX. Our ratio of those things, TR is 3. ZX is 1.5, so 3 over 1.5, which again, that also reduces or simplifies to 2. And so it says reduce and compare the ratios. We already reduced them. So what they're asking us to do is say, does 4 over 2 equal 6 over 3? And does that equal 3 over 1.5? Because they all reduce to 2, 2 does equal 2, which equals 2, then are their ratios equivalent? Yes. The figures are similar. Write a similarity statement. Remember that order matters. So we're going to say that triangle RST is similar to triangle XYZ. Remember that R and X correspond, so they're first. S and Y correspond, so they're second. And T and Z correspond, and so they're both last. And then number 5, the last part of this thing says, after we write our similarity statement, it says write a sentence to explain your answer. Use one of the options below. Remember that order matters. Yes, triangle RST is similar to triangle XYZ because, or no, the triangles are not similar because. We already decided that they were. If the ratios are equivalent, yes, and their corresponding angles are congruent, yes. So we're going to use this sentence starter. Yes, triangle RST is similar to triangle XYZ because corresponding angles are congruent and corresponding sides are proportional. So both things have to happen every time. Corresponding angles are congruent and corresponding sides are proportional. So it's super duper important that you start to commit these terms to memory, these vocab terms and these definitions. Similar figures have corresponding angles that are congruent and corresponding sides that are proportional.